Greetings and salutations. Thank you for lending an ear to The Voice of the Times this Monday, August 30, 2021. For today's editorial, Pacquiao better off respecting his limits. There is a Bill Gates quote that Senator Emmanuel Manny Pacquiao should reflect on as he comes to terms with losing to an undercard fighter. The billionaire Microsoft founder said, "It's time to celebrate success, but it's more important to heed the lessons of failure." Mr. Pacquiao was supposed to fight Errol Spence Jr., the unified welterweight champion, but Spence backed out because of an eye injury, and so the Cuban boxer Yordenis Ugas, whose credentials pale in comparison with the Filipino champions, stepped in as a last-minute replacement. As we have repeatedly said, Mr. Pacquiao should have retired from boxing, but not because he cannot compete anymore. Instead, he does not have anything else to prove. He deserves to enjoy his fame and fortune now. In fact, we had predicted that if he were to lose, political distractions may well be to blame, given his ongoing spat with President Rodrigo Duterte. Competing at the highest level demands mental focus, but going into his last fight, Mr. Pacquiao had politics on his mind. He is reportedly aspiring to run for president in 2020, but doing so pits him against President Duterte, who apparently wants to field another candidate, some say his daughter, Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio. But after losing his party leadership, Mr. Pacquiao might be switching camps to the corner of Vice President Maria Leonor Leni Robredo and the so-called opposition. Juggling boxing and politics seems difficult, if not impossible, and judging by how Mr. Pacquiao fared in Las Vegas recently, there may be physical harm in trying. Imagine the injury he could have suffered had he squared off with a healthy Mr. Spence. Unlike the undercard substitute, Mr. Spence was also labeled as the best pound-for-pound fighter, and for boxers, Mr. Pacquiao seems too old, at age 42. Mr. Pacquiao's record is already remarkable anyway, worthy of the Boxing Hall of Fame. His rags to riches story is also iconic. People might point out that he should be satisfied to be among the greatest in boxing history. In the political ring, Senator Pacquiao might be better off knowing his limits in politics as well. His achievements in the political arena are also impressive. His rise to the halls of power was not without defeat, but since his 2007 electoral loss to the Antonino political clan, Mr. Pacquiao has won seats in both houses of Congress. Like most political figures in the Philippines, Mr. Pacquiao has since strengthened his hold on his bailiwick. His younger brother is the representative of their home district, and his wife was vice governor of Sarangani province. In the last midterm elections, Mr. Pacquiao's local party, the People's Champ Movement or PCM, swept the provincial level seats. Undoubtedly, PCM's success can be attributed not only to Mr. Pacquiao's popularity, but also to his largesse. Now, Mr. Pacquiao has his sights on a higher office. Of course, the beauty of democracy is that anyone can be president, but that is not the same thing as saying that anyone should be the leader of the republic. Granted, voters decide in the end. That might be how Mr. Pacquiao rationalizes his political ambitions. He is expected to unveil his plans in a few weeks. His options include seeking re-election to the Senate or going up in the political weight class to compete for either vice president or president. While he decides, the senator should revisit the story of Icarus. In Greek mythology, Icarus and his father Daedalus escaped from imprisonment in Crete by making wings that enabled them to fly. Daedalus warned his son not to fly too low, as the sea would dampen the wings and make them too heavy. He also cautioned against flying too high, because the sun would melt the wax, holding the feathers together. But Icarus was ecstatic in flight, and he flew too high. He felt like a god, and to people on the ground, Icarus looked like one. As Daedalus had warned, the sun melted the wings of Icarus, and he plummeted to his death. The lesson here is, know your limits. Hubris can have consequences. And that's the editorial for Monday, August 30, 2021. For more news and information, get a copy of the Manila Times on print, subscribe to our digital edition, or log on to www.manilatimes.net. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and listen to The Voice of the Times.